Welcome back to the Business Roundtable Podcast. I am your host, David Carr, founder of Steward Your Business. We bring people together to accomplish great things, aligning people, process, purpose for confident and scalable growth. That's why I have a brand new guest this week, Marney Lumpkin. She's the president of Strategic Management and Logistics. So get that, management and logistics. Her team provide a wide range of support from bookkeeping, HR, project management, social media, grant writing, even cybersecurity, a lot of different things. And we're going to unpack it. She works with solopreneurs and small businesses, nonprofits, really to help address the burden of the day-to-day tasks that maybe you should not be focusing on. We're going to get into that. So if you're a business owner, maybe a nonprofit leader, feeling stretched, stuck, maybe doing too many things, you're going to get a lot of value out of this conversation today. Welcome to the podcast, Marnie.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. You and I met through different networking groups, which is fantastic. And I love that. And when we were talking, I said, Marnie, you got to come on the podcast because your insights, your perspective is very much needed. I, as a solopreneur, and I've worked with many other business owners, have got stuck in the minutia to our own, disadvantage. And so I want to have you share a little bit about what brought you to creating SML and helping people get, out of that minutia of the logistics and all of this other things that, they probably shouldn't be doing and they've been doing for too long.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's see. For me, I've had a couple of different career paths along the way, a couple of different degrees, but I'm finally using one of them for the business, which I love. And I think, I have finally found my passion, what I want to do. And it's so amazing to be a small business owner supporting other small business owners. That's what's awesome about it.
Yeah.
And also the ability that I have that I brought together a team of individuals. So I'm able to allow them to shine as well with their expertise and knowledge. So that's what it's all about. Just helping each other out. It can be something large or it can be something small. It doesn't matter. We're all here to help each other out.
I love that, Marnie. And that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because as we were meeting, I saw that, okay, there's different areas that you can help folks and focus on growing their business. And with your background, you mentioned, I know you have a varied background in HR and education. And I feel like, pulling from those things and then bringing those people together to help, particularly solopreneurs or those small businesses, even larger businesses. I know you can help in different aspects of that, but get out of their own way. Because, my passion with Steward Your Business is the people side and incorporating that and helping build that leadership team. And I think, there's a place where you have people outsource and there's a place where when do I switch and actually have an employee and all of that. Right, Marnie? You've seen that journey with the business owners?
Yes. Yes. And it can be a little daunting. We all know small business owners, we wear all the hats. That's what we do, right? Especially when we start off.
Yeah.
That's just how the magic's going to happen. And, on the other side, it's kind of difficult sometimes to let go. It really is. I'll admit it myself.
Yeah.
Even when I first brought on my first team member, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope this works. And, you can only prepare so much before you just have to let it go and hope that you brought on, the right individual. You've prepared as much as possible and mentor and work with them collaboratively in order to make magic happen. So, I really do understand that. For me, it is important to work with solopreneurs, small, mid-sized nonprofits. We're even into some federal and state subcontracting, which is very exciting. Myself personally, because I never thought I would be in that space. But as I work and meet new people and keep getting certified, I'm able to pursue some different opportunities, which is great. But my bread and butter really is all of my private clients. And the beauty is we're virtual, we're industry agnostic. I mean, we are a very eclectic team and we have a very eclectic group of clients, so we are never bored here at SML. And I love the variety, knowing that we can help different people. The majority of our clients are very long-term and across different support areas. Others, they may just need help with a project or one task, and that's okay too. We never want to say no if we can help. It doesn't matter how small it is or how long-term of an engagement it is. If we can help,
Mhm.
we want to help. And I think, part of the draw, at least for us, is that once you're a client, you're kind of always a client. You
Mm.
come and go as you need to.
Yeah.
You don't have to, we don't have to sign this huge contract and, you have to give us 50 hours a week, to work. No, no. We are just here to help and we can scale up or down, whatever you need
I love
as the
that.
client at that time. Because we all know sometimes the budget is just not there. That's just
Yeah.
small
That's
business, man. That's what it
that's
is.
that's reality. Yeah.
Reality. And it's okay to come to us and say, we just need to hold off, but can we come back later? Absolutely. You send me an email and we can start right back up again.
That's
Um,
fantastic. I love that. I love that flexibility. And I'm the same way, Marnie. I think that's why you and I connected. It's like when I'm looking at leadership and development, there's more of the team. And sometimes, it's just, hey, we just need to work with this individual or just me as a one-on-one. And sometimes there's a pause. And there's different things, cash flow. There's lots of different issues that come up right in the business. But you've been there, Marnie. That's the other thing. You've been there. And one thing I wanted to highlight too is that, correct me if I'm wrong here, but as I was looking at your website, everybody is US based. Is that correct?
yes, everyone is US based, and they are background checked, confidentiality agreements,
Mm-hmm.
NDAs if the client requests it. Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
because that just, and everybody has their own vibe. Everyone has their own way of
Mm-hmm.
running their business, but that's just the way I wanted to, is to make sure. And everyone on my team is no more than a second level connection out. So I know them personally, or that person knows them personally.
Mhm.
I think that helps kind of with the feel of SML, is that we
Yeah.
really do know each other. We really do
Mhm.
collaborate.
Yep.
I may be the head of the company, but the boots on the ground for me are my team. I
Yeah.
know that,
Mhm.
and it's a very collaborative, open, welcoming environment. And we try to be that way towards our client as well.
Mhm.
Because we really do want to be, people always say it, but we really do believe it. We really do want to be a member of that client's team. We want to be a trusted resource. Even if it's not maybe transactional right away, maybe it's just helping each other out with networking or a request or a recommendation or a connection. That's what
Mhm.
matters. I always
Mhm.
say good people know good people, and that's
Yes.
what makes it happen.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, I love that, Marnie, and I remember we were talking about when we were thinking about the podcast, and one of the things I asked you was like, to that point, these people, you're finding the right people, because sometimes I know I in the past I've used a different service, and they said I was kind of felt like I had to pick they didn't give me a lot of options, and that wasn't the best fit,
Mhm,
and they were in a different time than I went in the US. Was it not? I mean, I'm in we're in East Coast, West Coast, but nonetheless, they were like in a totally different time. It
mhm.
was just challenging. And I think where I hear you say, Marnie, is finding somebody that can help meet you where you're at and not make you jump through more hoops almost. It's like, man, I feel like I'm having to do even more to get this person to
Yes.
quote help me.
Yes, that is not advantageous for anyone. Um,
Hmm.
because that's the other thing. You want to be able to bring someone on board into your team as a virtual business support person that's pretty much already up to speed, right? On
Hmm.
the platforms that you need, different skills. And it's not just about skill, it's also about personality as well. You have
Yes.
to have that personality match in
Hmm.
order to make it really successful, and that
Hmm.
personal understanding. And for me, that's just really an essential piece of it. And that's what makes the clients keep coming back or even recommending us or referring us to others, is because they know they're going to get something very authentic from us. We
Hmm.
do not, pretend that we are something we are not.
Yeah.
We are very
Yeah.
clear also about where our expertise ends.
Yes.
As an example, currently we're bringing on a CPA partner, but currently it's not official, and we have bookkeeping services. But
Hmm.
we're not going to say we know how to do CPA. We
Hmm.
don't,
Yeah.
because we try to be really honest and helpful to
Hmm.
individuals. And for us, that's a key component, is that you can say, I do this great. These are
Hmm.
our areas where we can knock it out of the park for you right away, become integrated very quickly. Other things, it's okay. It may not be a perfect match. And
Hmm.
we are not interested necessarily in making it more challenging for the client or us on that end.
Right.
It's not a match. It's not a match. You want
I
to.
appreciate that, Marnie. As a business owner, sometimes because I get pitched every day, I'm sure you do too, selling me something, and they're like, "How do you know you're a match? You're just trying to, you've got something you want to sell, and you're just like trying to find anybody." I'm like, "That's not the right way about going about." I like how you said not just the technical skills, but we and I talked about the 5 voices as one of the tools I use, the frameworks, and I know myself, I am not the best at the day-to-day minutia, kind of the checklists, right? The being very detail oriented. I'm very future oriented. I'm visioning. I'm doing that, which I need both. I need all of it. And to your point, if I think, Marnie, when you're figuring this out, when you're working with a potential client, identifying with them too, like you said, if this is going to be a good fit or not, you're like, maybe I don't have the right. I mean, yes, they could do that technical skills, but personality wise and the way they approach things and the way that you're presenting yourself, and if they're really rigid, you're like, I don't know that that's going to be a recipe for success. You have to do that sometimes?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And, the other thing is there also could be, any number of reasons why maybe that doesn't work out. The positive is that I have a full team. So
Yep.
there's always another individual who may be presented that could backfill the role if for whatever reason the first match isn't successful. Or, if they're out sick or, on vacation, it's okay. The rest of the team is still here. So you're never really, without support in any of those areas, which I think is very helpful as well.
Well, you bring up a good point as you're saying that, Marnie. It just made me think, even if you have an employee, let's just say, because I work with a couple companies, they have some amazing employees, Marnie, but that employee kind of knows everything. And if something happens to that employee,
Yeah.
they're in trouble. Right? So if they're sick, they got to take maternity leave, whatever, right? I've had sick parents, whatever the case might be. That might be a great case then, Marnie, to reach out to somebody like you and saying, "Hey, I'm going to have an employee out. I want to bring them back. I know they will come back, but I don't want to see hire another. I don't want to hire another person. Could they come out to you, Marnie, and say you can
Yes.
help them uncover? Like, here's what all needs to be done."
Yes. Yes. That is a perfect example of a short-term engagement that we could
Mm-hmm.
absolutely support in any number of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just very we're very interested in becoming a member of the team. I know I keep
Yeah, yeah,
saying,
yeah.
but it's
Absolutely.
so important because it could be a short-term engagement, but you never know what could happen in the future.
Yeah.
How you could help each other out, or you just meet some other amazing people or another amazing organization, and you don't know how that could go down the road. What if someone else is looking for that amazing organization? You already know it, and you can just
Yes.
recommend and have it just keep the good feelings flowing.
I love that. I mean, honestly, and I've been through the life cycle, and you have too, of businesses. So maybe you're offsetting their accounting part time. They finally hire an accountant, but then they need other help, maybe some other aspects of the business. Maybe it's the cybersecurity or some, I don't, there's some other element, right? That they're growing. You're like, okay, great, you got that position filled. Fantastic. What other problems? Or hopefully, as the business is growing, you can do the short-term engagements. You can do augmenting them
Yep.
where they're at. And I think business owners need to think a little bit more strategically. It's not an all or nothing of like, it's either this one person has to do everything, or how can I, think a little strategically. So you walk me through a little bit, Marnie, about when you talk with a new potential client, they might have one idea of what they think they need, but it might not be the biggest bang for their buck, so to speak. They come to you and say, "Hey, this is what I think I need this." And you're like, "Well, how do you unpack that and identify the real, like, here's what I feel like it's going to be the most impactful help for augmented staff team member to come in?"
Yeah, for sure. For me, when I speak to a potential client, I try to really kind of get to know them and
Mm-hmm.
connect on different levels. Do you have a
Mm-hmm.
dog? I have a dog. You wanna
Yeah,
you
what's
wanna
your
have
life
that.
like?
Just a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of lightheartedness within the business conversation,
Yep.
and that strengthens that relationship.
Uh-huh.
And because you work with people you like.
Yes,
That's how
absolutely.
it is. And when I speak to a client, they may express what they think they need, and usually that they're pretty on top of it. They know their
Mhm.
business, but I often go through my list of services with them, during the conversation, and that kind of seems to perk up different ideas that they may have. They'll be like, oh, well, I didn't know you knew how to do this. You could help me with that. And here at SML, we very much do a soft sell. We're not gonna, won't keep pushing, how you keep getting the emails and LinkedIn, like, even look at me. I don't, how many emails I get, Dave, that say, hey, are you interested in virtual support? No. Look. But we know we all get them. And it's just, I don't know. So for me, when I speak to them and kind of go through that list, it kind of gives them an overarching idea. And then as we speak more, it could be that there's a different support area. If they're like, wait a minute, maybe I need to get caught up on this or focus on this first, and then we could move on to the others. And for me, I create a support outline for the clients that say, this is what we discussed. This is what the budget will look like, about how many hours we're anticipating, all the details. And again, we scale up or down. It could be that we start with bookkeeping, but after a while, they're like, okay, our social media is a mess now. Now we need to focus on this. And it's okay. I include everything in the support outline, but it's not ironclad. We don't have to do everything all at once. I mean, that's just honestly not really realistic. Because you want to focus on the few key areas that will be the most advantageous and impactful for the business. Because that's what you want to focus on, not the fluff. The fluff can come later. Because I even do that in my own business. I have all these great ideas. I really do. You should see me. I'm always chatting with my team, and I'm like, what about this? We should do that. They're like, great, Marnie. What about the other 10 things that need to be a priority before we get to these other things? But that's why I have my team. They got to balance me out.
That's so important to have an outside source of folks kind of giving you a reality check, Marnie. If we don't, and I think that's why I love when you and I met in the networking groups that we have. You're coming in, you're meeting with other business owners, you're hearing what's going on. I think that's so important. But sometimes speak to a little bit maybe about the business owner that might be self-isolating or not knowing when to outsource because they're just, for those that are listening, hopefully, maybe they're like, what are clear signs like, hey, you should probably be considering this. What are you experiencing? I mean, because sometimes when we're in the pressure, Marnie, I don't even think we realize how much pressure we're in. It's like we're like kind of blind to it. And until we like step out and we start talking about it and getting some outside insight and perspective, it's like, oh man, I didn't realize to a degree. I've had that happen to me, and I love to be in spaces where we talk and open up things. I remember being in the networking group, even with you. I still remember some conversations that you were facilitating and bringing out, and like, oh, I didn't think about it that way, Yeah,
because you're right. I mean, everyone has their own perspective, and that's what makes it great. You don't want to be in a room with people who just think like you all the time.
Yes.
That's not going to help you grow as a business owner or as a person, right? I mean, you want to hear outside thoughts and ideas. And I do think that's really, really essential for a business owner. And for me, I often find what I'm mostly hearing from my clients and from my own self is, the triggers are, hey, have you been sitting at your desk the majority of the day and have no idea what you've done or accomplished? I know I've done that.
Yep, me too.
There have been days, right? You're just, I swear I was working all day, but I got nothing done that was actually real, for the business. Or when you are wearing all the hats and it's stopping you from really growing your business and learning new things and just trying to expand it versus you're just like, oh, great. Now I have to, I don't know, my calendar's a mess. Now I don't know how to do, now my cybersecurity is failing. Like you're just putting out little fires all day long versus getting ahead of the game a little bit, And I think oftentimes, the issue or the challenge sometimes is finding the right type of support because that is important. It depends what your budget is. What's your area of interest? Are you looking, for someone who speaks different languages, in a different locale? What are you looking for? And you have to marry that with what are the possibilities?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't even think a little bit outside the box, you may be missing something great.
Mm-hmm.
That's not just with support. That's just with platforms, AI, everything. You could be missing out.
Yep.
So, that's what's kind of cool about it. And we
Yeah.
just like to be able to jump in and help. And we always try to ease in. For the ones that are just a little shy about it because it's
Yeah.
true, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
especially even the budget aspect. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we now for many of our clients have put in this is your monthly budget. Although it's not a retainer, it's a budget. So it's a guarantee. We aren't just going to be doing work to do work.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it should be. It
Right.
should be respecting that client's budget. If we get close, if they come up with something great for us to work on, we are all about it. But we make sure, are you sure? Because this is going to max out the budget a
Mm-hmm.
little bit.
Yeah.
Because you want to have
You're being
that.
proactive about it, Marnie. You're advising them so they're not like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize you were doing all this thing and went way beyond what I would originally envisioned. Or my
Yeah.
budget got was eaten up by this. And I thought we were going to be able to get to this. You're like, well,
Yep.
that's about being proactive project management. Absolutely, Marnie.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's showing that respect.
Mm-hmm.
On both sides. You wouldn't want someone to do that to you. No
Right.
business owner wants to get a bill that's just like, what?
Yeah.
What
What is
happened
this?
there, right?
Mm-hmm.
You weren't prepared
Mm-hmm.
at all.
Right.
And the other thing is even with nonprofits, we give an additional 10% off for each invoice for
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit because we love them and they're out there doing great work, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you want to find a company or a support group that shares the same overall values with you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That's the other thing. If and it's a gut feeling too. I don't know how else to explain it, but when you talk to someone, right, you
Yeah.
either this is
Connect.
going
You're
to
like,
work
yeah.
or
Or
maybe this isn't the right person for me.
mm-hmm.
And, there are times when we've met with clients, maybe it's not a great match for us, but we can certainly recommend them to others, right?
Yes.
Because you don't want to just not help somebody. You want to be
Absolutely.
there,
Well, that's
just let it, wave in the wind. Like that's
yeah.
not
Well, I mean, that's why I have the Business Roundtable Podcast, Marnie. Why have you on here and put all the show notes, the ways you guys can connect with her and the SML team. But I think to your point, Marnie, I have different voices on the podcast. Some things that say they may sound at the first blush, oh, they do the exact same thing. But then when you dig deeper, you're like, oh no, they've got a unique perspective on it and take on it and their experience. And so, go and find out. That's what this whole podcast is about. Taste and see, learn a little bit more about you, Marnie. And I love that you also focus on nonprofits. Not everybody does that. And I think, helping them, because I think sometimes they don't always think, I'd love to get you just a little bit. I think nonprofits don't always think as a business, but it is still as a business. It's just not making profit specifically, but it still needs to be run. Speak a little
right.
bit about your help for nonprofits and the impact you're making there.
Yeah, for us, for nonprofits, it typically falls within a few support areas that come up over and over again. One is
Mm-hmm.
HR.
Mm.
Oh boy, OHR. Yep, the daily operational support, as
Yep.
well as the deeper HR consulting. At times, there's an employee relations issue, or
Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
handbook's out of date, or now I want to start offering benefits to my team, but I have no idea where to start.
Yep.
All those types of things. When we do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
recruiting and background checks and all the good stuff in order to help them, because a lot of times they don't have a huge HR department in order to
Yeah.
handle everything, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not a common enough occurrence to have a team in place for it. If it's just once in a while, it's okay to outsource. No worries.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is it could be maybe you have someone doing the HR, but they don't have time, right? Or maybe
Mm-hmm.
that particular expertise, and that's okay. We can jump in and supplement it, for as long as they need to, and then back off when they need us to.
Yep.
The other areas are definitely social media and websites for sure. Bookkeeping is huge for us as
Mm-hmm.
well, because, as an example, I know QuickBooks, sort of,
Mhm.
QuickBooks Online, but I don't know everything. I am not an expert, whereas I
Mhm.
have someone on my team who is, and
Mhm.
they're able to jump in and quickly acclimate it. They already have all that nonprofit bookkeeping experience, so they can come in and even make, maybe you guys need to do this. Here's some
Mhm.
recommendations here. Because
Yes.
you want a support person that not only is doing the tasks, but you really have that gut instinct that they're looking out for you. And a
Yeah.
better way to do something more efficiently, even if it maybe cuts out some of the work that we're doing. But that's okay because that's what it's about. It's about helping the company or the
Mhm.
organization, and that's what we want to be known for.
I love that. Well, I want to go back to one thing you brought up earlier was about the values. You have the conversation, but I think sometimes business owners, we want to move too fast and slow down a little bit. Get clear on your vision, your mission, your values, because they want to be able to express that to you so that you can say, hey, are we in alignment or are
Mhm.
we out of alignment? Right. Marnie, speak a little bit to that.
Yes, I mean it really is important to have that, and it doesn't have to be some huge corporate
Yeah.
slogan or verbiage. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be. It can be something very personal, a sentence or two. That's it
Uh-huh.
for each thing, just so that you have a clearer vision. And it not
Mhm.
only helps the business owner themselves, right, as they move forward day to day and as they
Mhm.
grow, but it also helps whoever is on their team, whether it's an employee or fractional business support. They
Mhm.
need to be able to understand what it is in order to make the most impact.
Mhm.
For me, it's very important to have that. Like even here at SML, I send a monthly email to my team and I check in on them work wise, emotionally, physically.
Mhm.
How are you guys doing? What do you need from me? Are you taking breaks? Are you taking care of yourself and your families? Because if you don't have all of that, you can't show up fully at work. And
Mhm.
that's an important piece to me. And
Mhm.
that kind of value system, like, do you really care?
Mhm. Mhm.
Are you just talking about caring? Are you showing that you care?
Right.
And that's an important piece.
Yeah,
And it's also,
absolutely.
and it's also just that friendliness feeling. Are we
Mhm.
open? Are we friendly? Um, if it's one thing to be professional, but it's another thing to not be as outgoing as you
Yeah.
could be, with individuals. You have to open yourself up just a little bit.
Well, I appreciate that, Marnie, because the way you're explaining to that, when I think of the Five Voices framework that I use, you have what I call a guardian approach, which is making sure everything is taken care of, but also what I call nurturing as well. So you're being very present oriented about how people are doing. And I think sometimes, we have to feel like we have to do all of these things. And I said, my strength isn't the guardian, but I appreciate that voice of that person coming in, asking me kind of the tougher questions. But have you thought about this? Where is this at? And not taking it so personally, but recognizing they're trying to help me. And I think matching up people that, like you said, I think to be successful in this is working with somebody like you, Marnie. Are you coachable? Are you being able to receive feedback and different than yourself? Right? That's important.
It really is, and you work with us, we work with such a wide range of clients as
Mhm.
well in different industries. It's really varied, and you have to be able to go into that and be open, be willing to learn, like you
Mhm.
said, coachable, willing to adjust easily, because as long as the client is respectful, you should have no problem adjusting to what they need. You
Right.
know, that should not be a problem. If it is, then that's a different conversation, right?
Right.
Because you're constantly growing as a person. I am.
Yep.
There's always something new to learn or a new platform,
Absolutely.
new way to do things. And if we don't have that, we're just kind of dead in the water. We need to keep pushing ourselves and our team, and
Mhm.
to really believe it and show it.
I love that, Marnie. I know we're getting close to the podcast. You've got so many great insights here. And I'm grateful to hear what has made successful clients and how you've helped them. I so appreciate what your perspective of, meeting them where they're at, and vice versa, that they need to be coachable too. And that's where I come into, and building that leadership team of like, how do you take care of, it goes both ways. You're helping them, but then I think as a business owner, how do I take care of those folks that are serving me, those vendors? How am I being aware of that? And so those of you that are listening as a business owner and you want to learn more about that, I've shared the 5 voices with Marnie. You guys can reach out to me. I'm happy to share that with you as well. But Marnie, they can connect with you through the strategicmanagementlogistics.com website, LinkedIn. If they've got a question, Marnie, and they're like, okay, I'm hearing this, I want to get help. What would be what number one, can they reach out to you? What's the best way to go through your website? What's the best way to reach you?
Yes. The easiest way would probably be email me directly at marnie@vasml.com or LinkedIn messaging. No problem there.
Okay, great. So that's how you guys go ahead and message her directly if you got questions. Like, I'm not sure where to start. Maybe I've never done this before. There's a lot of people out there that quote unquote provide this service, but I'm not sure because they're just pitching me anything and they're trying to sell me something. And Marnie's saying, look, I'm not going to just sell you something. I'm going to find you this right fit. So if Marnie, they reach out to you, or, as we wrap up here today, what would you say if we did anything, in this journey, if you're haven't started, or you're thinking about it, besides reaching out to you specifically, what should they do? Should they consider, Marnie, in their journey here as a business owner?
Yeah, I would say one is look at kind of what your long-term plan is and what resources you may need in order to get to that. And as a stopgap, if you need resources. And the other thing is to do research. As a person, as a small business owner, I would want to do my research too. You want to make sure that you find the right fit for you. Don't let anyone push you into anything or bully you into anything that you don't want to do. That's not what it's about.
Yes.
It should truly be support. And, SML is full on back end support. We have 23 different service offerings, but we're here. We are here for you guys. But we want people to do their research and to feel comfortable and open to the idea of speaking to virtual business support. And I had a client recently. She kind of was putting off having us start supporting her. And then she finally emailed and she was like, I'm just holding everything up. There's never going to be a perfect time, right? You're never going to have the full list. You want to have an idea of what you can, work on and pass off. But it's never going to be absolutely perfect, right? Life is life. So you just have to do your research and find the people that are going to work with you best, because that's what it's all about.
Well, I'm so glad you're here, Marnie. Thank you for being on the podcast. It was a pleasure having you. We hope you come back again. We always love having you.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, David, for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us on the Business Roundtable Podcast. Of course, if you enjoyed this, we love you subscribing and liking. Leave comments. We'll make sure Marnie can get them. She can respond to them. Share this with others, and come back and join us on our next episode of the Business Roundtable Podcast. Thank you so much for being with us, everybody. Bye now.
Thank you.